Hey, and welcome to episode 37 Property Mastermind podcast with Hilary Saxton. This week, my guest again is the amazing Bob Andersen, and we're going to be talking about controlling the controllables when it comes to property development. There's going to be a lot about human behaviour in this one. It'll be a really interesting topic. Make sure you stand by and listen in. Episode 37. Join me on the inside. Hey, welcome to episode 37. Like I said, controlling the controllables with the amazing Bob Andersen. Welcome aboard, Bob.
Great to be back.
Woohoo!
Ooh.
And giving away this week a copy of, Property Millionaires Exposed, The Secrets Of. If you'd like a copy, remember to email... to jump on the YouTube channel, Property Mastermind, and give us a great comment and you'll go in the draw. Last week I gave away a coaching session to Sondra Ballert over in Western Australia, and she would probably say it was worth its weight in gold. So she reached out, asked a couple of questions, said we do a great job, and I'm like, hey, you can be our winner this week. So if you'd like to be a winner of a coaching session or a book, this week it's the book. There's your opportunity. Jump in and do it. You'll find us on Apple, Spotify, and all those other places. Anyway, did I say this week the podcast is brought to you by
Oh, tell me.
Property Mastermind.
Oh, what a great sponsor.
What a great sponsor. Okay, Bob.
Yes, tell me.
You know how every time we have a podcast, you start off saying something about the way I look?
Yeah.
You look really white today. What's going on? You're feeling okay?
I am. I just can't seem to get the light right in the room. It's ghosting me a little bit.
You do look a bit pasty.
Do I look ill?
You do.
I haven't got anything, I promise.
The crazy thing about podcast lighting, oh my God, lighting in general.
Lighting in general, yeah. Oh, look, if I look a little bit white on the YouTube, that's just the way it is today. I'll try and look darker next time.
Yeah, what are your thoughts for those who watch us on YouTube? We know there's a fair few now. Give us some comments. Do you think we need to fix the lighting in some way?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you need to start wearing makeup.
Dark makeup, tanned makeup. I need some rub on tan.
Yeah.
It hasn't been great weather for going out and getting a tan lately, so yeah, maybe I'm just going white.
No, Bob, this is definitely a lighting issue. You're white and pasty. Anyway.
Okay. Enough of that.
Enough
of picking on Bob.
Oh, please. Controlling the controllables when it comes to property developing.
Well, the more controllables we've got, the better. The less uncontrollables, the better. I mean, things like councils aren't easy to control. What happens at councils, how long they take, what they do sometimes, how they think sometimes.
This was off the back of last week.
A little bit out of control there. You're sort of losing some control. We do what we can do, of course. You know, we use the right professionals. We put the right sort of proposals up. We track them. We, develop in areas where councils are more friendly perhaps than some others. But that's more difficult. But there's a lot of things that we can control, a lot of variables that we can control ourselves in doing a property development.
So if you wanted to learn about the stuff that is outside of you, we covered that a lot in last week's episode 36. So have a listen to that one. But today we really are going to cover a lot of the human behaviour type stuff, the people, the drive stuff, the you thing, the you factor.
Human behaviour.
Oh, yeah.
Big subject. And you are the expert when it comes to human behaviour. I've got a bad behaviour.
What's your
I've got to practice good behaviour more.
Oh.
Is that what we're talking about? That sort of behaviour or something else?
No, it's not your bad behaviour.
Okay.
Bob's behaviour, your bad behaviour is you go missing all the time and you're always at Bunnings.
Missing in action. I do, and I don't always tell you where I've gone. That might be the problem.
And you're always at Bunnings. What do you do there?
Character fault. Well...
Or BCF.
BCF or Bunnings. Well, they're not... Where we live, they're only like about half a minute from each other, which is quite handy.
Oh, my goodness.
And, I do. I get to Bunnings a bit because I'm doing lots of little things, around the place. And BCF, well, yeah, fishing, boating, not so much camping.
Gosh,
You're not a big camper.
I've done my fair share. I'm over it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a glamper these days, if I had to. Anyway, so I thought we'd start off by talking about the 4 personality traits, if you look at the DISC profile, and I've kind of made them a little bit more simple to understand. But if we look at those and then look at the negative side of those, as well as the positive side, like the good traits and the bad traits, and then knowing that you can work on the ones that where you're lacking.
Yeah, so that's back to that things that you can control,
Yeah.
even if they take some effort and some training to control them.
Yeah. Well, they do take effort to control, don't they?
Yep. Some personalities take more effort than others to control.
It's in different arenas, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So where's this leading, Hillary? Because you
Let's-
are the expert.
Okay,
You've
let's-
studied all this stuff.
Let's go with the high D, which is what I call a captain, the person who's in charge, who wants to lead. They're the visionary. They're they're really goal orientated. They're about success. They're very driven. That person, so they're great at the controllables.
This is the captain. You name them the captain.
Yep, the high D is the captain.
High D. Yep.
So
Well, you might be one of those. I mean, I guess as far as property developers go, of the four personality traits that you often talk about, a developer could be any of them because they're not, as you keep telling me, they're not 100% something, or it's rare to have somebody 100%. They're sort of a mixture, but you might have a dominant personality.
it's like a fine wine, Bob. Like a wine is a blend of many
Can be, yes.
flavours, grapes.
Some of my favourites are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
yours?
yes.
Okay, so a property developer is similar to a fine wine. There might be a predominant grape or a predominant personality characteristic, but there's minor ones as well, and that all has an effect. So
Yes.
you were talking about the captain, the visionary, the driver, the one that wants to lead.
So if their blend isn't, like if they're lacking some of the others, like I'm a very high captain, but I'm also a high clown, so I'm have two high, strong. But what I would be lacking in is, and this is probably where we complement each other, is I lack in the counsellor and I lack in the conductor, so I'm not great with detail. So anything to do, and like as we know with property developing, detail is vital. So
If you've got a partnership,
Yes.
like a business partnership, or like ours is we've got both partnerships, I suppose, but it's just sticking with the business one for the moment. Is it a good thing that we are different and not the same? Would that create a bit more conflict and maybe not getting things covered well enough?
it's great that like I get a contract and I say, can you read this?
Yeah, well, that's true.
and you do. In fact, I saw Bob reading a contract yesterday and I was just like, oh my God, how do you even, it was like
It's
50.
a building contract, as if I haven't seen thousands of them, but, they don't always stay the same. They're different in different states. And
50-something
there's
page
all,
contract.
Different types of building contract. Yeah, well, I just wanted to read that in detail because it's important. It's a contract. Yeah, so that's me. You wouldn't do that.
No,
Well,
but
you wouldn't like doing it.
that's great that you will do that. Well, actually, we're going to get to you and you don't. This is where you've sort of stepped up and changed anyway, and as a developer, as a human, I suppose we could say. But the captain, because they are driven, they can...
You're a captain.
Yes, they can miss the detail. We're good at some things, but that would be our negative thing. So that's a controllable. To be able to control that, we have to be aware of it. I think what we're saying is you have to realise what you're not good at and fix those little holes, especially in this industry.
There's two ways of going. As long as you realise, let's say you're not a detailed person, like reading a 50-page building contract's not your idea of fun. So you could either sort of try and force yourself to be something else, or you could simply engage somebody else that's quite happy and to read a complex contract.
I don't know, like Bob, if you did that and they missed something, who's responsible for that? Like at the end of the day, it
that's
falls.
you if you're the developer.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, would you trust?
But that's
someone?
why we go. Well, I mean, we go to experts because they should know more than we know.
Yes.
Or they in some cases they enjoy doing what they're doing more than you do, which is probably why they're good at it. I mean, providing you're doing a job that you enjoy. Yeah, but ultimately, we have to take responsibility ourselves, and it's back to those things you can control.
Yes, which is what we're talking about. So let's talk about the next trait, which is your trait. I call that the counsellor, which is a very
the great
high
guy.
The high S. So the high S person is all about people first and making sure everyone is included and happy. I mean that's you manage a team very well because
The peacemaker or whatever.
Yeah, and you don't like fast pace. It's all about just consistency and control. No rushing at the end.
Not rushing. Yeah, it's not so much. Well, fast pace. Yeah, but not rushing. I mean, I can move fast as long as on top of things and know what, you know.
I think that goes to what we're alluding to, though. That's a controllable that you've learned to do. Because if we're very honest right now, we know that your detail...
As opposed to just honest.
Yes. You know,
extremely very honest.
Your detail, you rank actually quite low on that.
Yeah.
But you've made yourself learn it.
Yeah. I'm not naturally... It might come as a strange thing to some people. Like project managing a project, there's a fair bit of detail in there that you need to be on top of. And I'm not naturally that detailed person. So
You've learned it, hey?
I'm not naturally a good project manager, even though I've project managed many projects. But I've also had people underneath me doing, quite often doing the detail as well. But I take responsibility for it over the top because it's not my natural trait, but I have had to learn to do more of it.
Yeah. And that's where people need to understand it's not that you can't do it. You just have to be aware of the hole that you need to fix. And for you had to learn to do that.
Yeah.
Like that contract yesterday.
Yeah, there's different things I've had to learn. And delegating was one that came slowly to me.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't a natural delegator in my earlier days. So I used to, a lot of people have that attitude. Nobody can do it as good as me, so why delegate? I'll just do it myself. Or by the time I train somebody to do what I do, I might as well have done it, that sort of thing. It took me a long time to realise that's a lot of rubbish. My life certainly got a lot easier when I realised that.
I love delegating. Oh, my gosh. I'm like, you do it then. Okay, off you go. I'd much rather...
That's something I've learnt to be a better delegator a long time ago, but yeah.
So the counsellor's strength is connecting and being around people and managing the process, managing the people, and they're very good at that sort of thing.
And we like to get things flowing smoothly.
Yes.
And the team to be on top of it and happy and going forward. Ideally, minimum conflict. We try and you don't go out of our way for conflict.
No.
We prefer to make the road smoother and therefore less stressful. That's probably a thing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So you might see yourself in that, and so that's the high S. The next one is the clown, the high I, and they are the people that are all very much about fun. They're great with other people, so they're great at going finding the projects and great at hanging out with the people.
Yeah, chasing up real estate agents, taking them out for a coffee or whatever, and connecting, and like networking and like all the social sort of having fun sort of people. Is that them?
Yeah. And remember, like I said, everyone's a blend, so people, they all want to be that person. But you don't want to be very too high in that person and then not have the other traits, because I've seen it in a person and it's terrible.
Yeah,
it's chaotic.
They leave a trail of devastation behind them because they can't pick up the pieces, do the detail, or
any of it.
Engage, and even appointing the right people to do the job, to pick up the pieces. They probably either don't do it or they choose somebody like them.
Yeah, yes,
there's another fun lover.
Yeah.
That they can have fun with and go out and still nothing gets done. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that whole, you've got to, find the right people for the team, but they're more likely to go, oh, that'll do. Nah, you're right. They'd find someone who's fun.
So that's why we don't want somebody to be like 100%
too much.
That. Like you're some of that, but when to play hard, when to have fun hard.
Both of them are extreme, so that sort of helps it along, the driven and the fun.
And you got me there to read your building contracts for you.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, that's great. But you'll often find with a clown, there's just disorganisation. They're very disorganised, aren't they? Like, if you've got to write a letter, they'll more than likely text it.
Yeah, they'll go for an hour lunch and come back at midnight, or because they've run.
And that's okay sometimes.
Some other fun-loving people.
Yeah, that's definitely it. So that trait needs to obviously just learn to become a bit more organised, don't they? And get the right people around them, like they say. And then the last one is the high C, which I call the conductor. They're all about the detail, and they're very much into, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but their problem can be managing people because they're often a little bit androidy. If it's too high, they don't quite fit in and they don't know how to connect with people.
They can sound very blunt and unfriendly, even though that's not necessarily what they're trying to do. They're very matter of fact. There's no fluff around, embellishments around what they say. Sometimes they ask a question and it sounds like an interrogation in court. It's just them, it's them.
Yeah.
But we need those people, and in property development, we need those people. You know,
get them on your physios. Oh my gosh, yes, hey.
Absolutely, get them on your feet. Get them organising. You know, they make great PAs or general managers.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, so they're not very good with connecting with people. They're not very good with people.
They can be quite serious.
Yeah, they can be.
Because it works for them. No frivolity. It's almost, they probably, of the personality, I'm making all this up because I've done no training whatsoever.
But you've been around me long enough, and we have people
long enough.
We've got enough children and people in our world, and I'll say, Bob, there you go. That is a classic conductor. So we know who that person is when we talk about them, somebody who's high in that trait. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's probably almost the clown that annoys them the most because they just can't knuckle down and be serious and do stuff.
Clowns would do their head in. Clowns annoy conductors big time.
You probably don't see many people with those two characteristics. Like your captain and clown as a minor or whatever you want to call it. It's pretty strong though.
Yeah.
But yeah, you probably don't see much of the conductor and the clown. Like
it's so impressive that Bob knows, but it's because both of us have done our disc profiles, so we know exactly where our strengths and weaknesses are, how we lie. So it's kind of good to know how we need to talk to each other, how we need to where we both fall down, what our strengths are.
Because I'm so strong on being stubborn.
Oh my goodness, that's Bob's downfall. Well, should we say this on the podcast?
It can be
counsellors
can be a winner too.
If your business partner or something is extra stubborn, well, they're definitely a counsellor.
Yeah, but like it can be good if you're right and people are trying to sway you. You can dig in and you know you're right, but then sometimes you can dig in
just because
and think you're right and you're not, or even though you think you're not. You dig in anyway
because it's too late. You already said you already said you would
capitulate to anybody.
No, big word. There you capitulate. Crikey, there's a goodie.
Yeah. So interesting stuff.
It is.
So how does this, Hillary, work in with things you can control with these personality traits?
I think exactly how we just talked about you being the counsellor who is really good with people and. Connecting people and getting a job done, and even the process side of things, but you're not great at the detail, but you admit that, and then you've learned to be good at it. So you've made an effort to know that as a property developer, I have to be good with detail, and especially with our mentoring students, like you are going over their feasibilities with them, teaching them like how to, you're almost micromanaging their feasios so they understand them. So that's where that is how you can definitely control a controllable, is by learning what you need to know and knowing that that the buck stops with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are things you can do to once you understand your personality type and the effect that has, good and bad, you can make adjustments.
Absolutely, and that's a really good point. When you make those adjustments, when you understand you, it also helps with your interaction when you communicate with others and understand other people's strengths. When you understand why you should hire that person or why you should, like we've just got a new office girl and comes in and helps me a couple of times a week, and she's very much a captain like me. So her and I swear to God, what do we get through, Bob? I think we can do like 3 days work in half a day.
Yeah.
We just power it through. But we're both like boom, 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 get it done. Yeah, it's crazy. So just understanding what you're good at and what other people are good at, and how you could fix those up. It's a controllable then, isn't it, rather than an uncontrollable. What about habits, Bob?
Got a couple.
Yeah. Oh, do you now? Like
good ones.
As a property developer, where do you see what habits do you currently have that you believe enhance your property development journey as a property developer who's developed well over $1 billion worth and still developing and managing, so many other of our mentoring students? What habits do you think are important, would you believe?
Well, I mean, I've got a little habit I've been doing for many years, and that's where I pre-plan the following day. Like, I never close off a day without knowing what I want to achieve the next day. I put that down, and I prioritise it so that the next morning when I get up, I know what I want to achieve that day. And hey, you're always adjusting it because, one phone call later, it all gets thrown on its head. But I like to know the night before, what do I want to achieve tomorrow and what are my priorities? What's the most important thing followed by the second most important thing? And you've got to be adaptable as well because things can happen along the way.
Yeah.
But that puts me in a good state of mind for closing down the day. And it closes off a lot of loops for me. I don't like lots of open loops in my head. They torment me. And you know what an open loop is?
It's so funny. How much have you learned from me? Because I always talk about open loops and I go like that. It's when there's a question that needs answering and you have too many and it's firing away in the background.
Yeah, that's true. And
it's like, what time did you get up last night? Tell the truth. Because you were like, did I book that other bag to take down on that flight? And you're lying there and you said it was just an open loop. You had to go and...
I woke up thinking about it because I hadn't had an email back from Virgin telling me that I'd booked the extra bag. I mean, I thought I went through the process. I paid the $40, and I'm waking up at 4 o'clock thinking I never got this is days ago we did it. I never got a confirming email. And I thought, well, I don't want to arrive at the airport with an extra bag and they say no. And then
and
I
it's
couldn't
gifts
sleep.
for mentoring students.
So I had to get up. I had to go down. I had to check. Sure enough, there it was in my bank statement. I paid my $40.
But it was a loop.
Yeah, and then I had to get onto the Virgin to make sure I did.
Yeah.
So, closing loops. I remember learning about that in NLP years ago.
Oh, that's right. You did NLP. So that list that Bob creates, it was ironic. I remember hearing him tell somebody on the phone once that he did it. And I thought, that's not true. And I walked in the office. I thought, I've never seen him do that. And then he does. I've known you for so long. And then you have that list beside. It's written in italics too, the heading on it, tomorrow's to-do list. Who made that?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I stole it from somewhere many years ago and I keep using it. But, so what that does, that's a habit I've gotten into. It's an organisational habit.
Yeah, it's very good.
And it makes my life, it closes my loops off, but it gets me going next day. You don't wake up and think, oh, what do we got on today? Let me think, and then that's not a good way to start.
No, for you.
For me, yeah. And we have we both have habits that we go through, a regime, if you like, when we do get up.
Well, I do sort of similar with that list, but I actually do mine first thing in the morning. That's just how I like to do it with that stuff we do in the morning, actually.
Yeah.
We have a great morning routine, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
These are great habits that make us be able to achieve a lot, to accomplish what we want in a day, to keep our life balanced, they tick off many boxes, don't they?
Yeah, it's a good little regime.
Yep.
Science-based.
Science-based, yep.
Which is the best way. And that gets us going in the morning, gets us fired up, gets us charging. We have our own little meetings. I mean, that's a habit. You and I have fortunately it's easy to do when you live in the same house, but we talk about what each of us have planned for the day, what we want to achieve.
Yeah, so we start off with our morning habit is up. It's up at 6. Sometimes I might be up earlier than Bob, but at 6 it's straight to daylight. And if you understand what daylight does, just with cortisol levels and being and sleep and energy and brain and all that sort of stuff, it's really important.
People are saying out there, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, it's so important. If anyone's interested, I can put the link to a podcast, and it's science-based. It's really interesting. It's about your circadian rhythms, and there's another whole thing that we're not talking about with the property development. But what this does for us, it makes us very productive. No coffee first thing. Try and wait an hour. That's my struggle. Pretty easy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lemon juice and apple cider vinegar and warm water.
There you go.
Yeah.
Walk down to the beach.
Yep.
Have our meeting there. Chat about what we're doing for the day.
It's a good place to have a meeting on the beach.
It is.
Takes us all of no time to get there.
No, and then we come back and both spend that sort of 45 minutes to an hour on things that we want to do for ourselves that are nothing about work related, whatever that is that we're up to.
Yeah.
Planning or writing.
Visualisations.
We do a visualisation together actually, and amongst that, so they are really good habits.
That's our routine. That's a habit.
Yeah.
Habit routine, and I like to try and do my creative work early. Like if I'm doing some work where I've got to be creative, it could be copywriting, writing emails, could be, thinking about changes to the website, could be, anything creative. I like to do that in the first 2 hours of the day. Not in the afternoon, that's my creative time.
And but was so much more fresh. I think was it last podcast or the podcast before we recorded it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you look so tired." But even I hadn't even seen the recording. I just said, looking at him during the podcast, you just look tired, and we were both like, we cannot do afternoon podcasts.
Afternoon podcasts.
No, you can't
it's
do
probably a heavy day.
Yeah,
we
big
thought,
day.
No, we got to do the podcast.
And then we did it, and it was just exhausting, wasn't it? Like we look. So I think it was about. If you want to look at us looking terrible, I think it was about episode 35.
Oh,
around there.
Drag it out.
I think we just looked like, oh my god. Afterward, we would have had no energy.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
But no pre-workout.
Oh well, that we can come to that actually because another habit that we both have, and it's all about having that energy to be productive, to do the things we need to do, is we both go to the gym separately, believe it or not. We have different gym times. Bob goes one time a day, I go another. Same gym, just different times.
Yeah, it's locked into my my calendar.
Yep.
11 a.m. gym time. I like that time of day. I prefer to go to the gym pre-lunch, mid to late morning. That's when I'm feeling pretty strong. I've done my creative work. That's behind me, but I'm still feeling, pretty charged up.
Did you know there's great research around that being one of the best time of day to go? It's about around 10 o'clock time is apparently really a very good time.
Yeah.
I don't go. I go later in the day.
Well, I beat the people that go before work, the people that sneak in at lunchtime, the people that, start knocking off work at 3. I duck all of those. I don't like the gym to be too hectic and too busy. You know me, like to cruise around.
Yeah, there you go. Councillor Bob.
Once I start, I'm pretty intense, but I just like it, and that is
it's
a
perfect.
Habit.
Yeah, it's
a
a
habit,
good
4 times a week.
It's a great habit, and you prioritise your health. Like these are just great habits that have made you a successful person. I've got habits very similar that make us even like
perform well.
That's it. Even on the podcast last week, not the podcast, on our live Q&A. We have a live Q&A on one of our Facebook groups every second Wednesday, and somebody asked a question, Bob, where do you get your energy?
It was Sione.
It was Sione, yes, Sione Kipu. Bob, where do you get your energy? Sione in Sydney. And we were
He's
like...
pretty energetic.
He is, by the looks of it, yes.
Yeah, that was good that he asked me for it too.
Yeah, and it's just, I think when you think about it, all the things that we do, they are to make sure that we have enough, it's a really health-based approach to life. Don't get us wrong, we like to sort of, it's not super rigid. We will, mess it up the odd time.
No, it's got to be in balance.
Yeah, but I think all of that stuff does help with controlling the controllables, having more energy to do the things that you need to do, which is the definition to me of fitness. Having enough energy at the end of the day to do the things that you want to do outside of your work
do them
environment.
Well, do them effectively, efficiently, for sure. So that's, they're habits that we do.
Yeah, they're great habits. We've got quite a few good ones. There's probably some bad ones we could get rid of. Let's not talk about those ones. No.
I don't want to think too hard.
No, don't think too hard. Don't do that.
No.
So at the end of the day, I think that what we're really talking about is for controlling the controllables, to just be functioning at your optimum self, is really, it's about becoming organised.
Very much so. Property development, you have to be organised. In dealing with consultants, remember, I often say property development is managing people and managing a process. And, that personality profile that you're an expert on can have a bit to do with managing people, e.g. communication and so forth. But they're things you can control, like even dealing with consultants. I mean, if you're not firm with a consultant, if you haven't locked in timeframes, if you're not banging on their door, time can slip by, but that's something you can control to a fair degree, but just by way of one example.
And what's interesting you just brought up there is about the communication. You've got to remember that the person you're dealing with, they've got a different personality profile as well. So they could be a very detailed person. You might ring them and they'll be able to instantly say, yes, that's going to be here done by 4 o'clock next Thursday. Or they could be someone more like a clown, or should be like, oh God, yeah, I think I sent that off and have no idea where it is. Or,
hopefully not too much clown. A structural engineer.
Yeah, well, there you go.
A clown probably wouldn't have got through 4 years of uni doing a structural engineer, but I mean, you can, and they can have bad habits too, like procrastination, or you know, some consultants go with the big jobs and neglect the smaller ones, and and even there could be a bit of a personality clash in there because somebody doesn't know how to deal with another person. Yeah, all sorts of things come into it. Yeah.
So you just alluded before to, you know, checking in on how, you know, a controllables, checking in on how something's coming along, and we actually had that this week. We had something.
I saw you do it.
I did it.
I was impressed.
I know.
No,
It was. I'm so glad I did, because I think we would have been waiting an extra month.
Yeah.
Somebody said something would be ready in 4 weeks, and 2 weeks into it, I rang to check that it was going to be ready in 4 weeks, and they said, "Oh, actually, no, that's not coming in until a few weeks after the 4 weeks." And I said, "No, we only met with you guys because you told us it would be 4 weeks." You know,
the only reason you got the order and the only reason you got our deposit.
Yes.
Was because you promised it 4 weeks.
And their reaction, she was so rude. But it's interesting because then they chased it up, and I actually said, "I've just rung 3 times, and I just called them out on it." I think you've got to. That's a controllable that people can be. Oh, we'll just let it slide.
Yeah,
that's a controllable by getting on
not
things.
Not waiting until they're late before you contact them.
No.
That's
calling them to see that they're going to be on time.
Well, every day is money in property development.
Absolutely.
You know, at the end of a project, like something as simple as a 4 townhouse project, the daily interest rate is probably somewhere between $250 and $300 a day. So why wouldn't you push to get things done quicker?
Or it wasn't even quicker. Like, why wouldn't you just ensure that people are going to do what they say they're going to do? Yeah. And that's a controllable, really. It does shake the cage a little bit, but it does.
You're always going to have, you know, consultants that no matter how much you pester them, they're going to be late. Like that hydraulic engineer where I went to his office after he'd promised me a certain date and didn't do it, and I got back onto him and he promised me a soon after date, and I could see it wasn't happening. I drove over to his office, and I went to the receptionist. I said, "I'm not leaving here today, but go and get whoever he was out, and I'm not leaving here without those plans."
I think we talked about that in last week.
Yeah, we did, but that's like going to the extreme.
Absolutely. But what's something that you do, Bob, I think a great trait as a property developer is you think ahead of the timeline. Your timeline, like you are great with your timelines, and you're always thinking ahead of the timeline. You do that in every area, really.
That's a good habit, if you like, if you want to call that a habit. But yeah, you do. You have to look ahead as a property developer, know what's coming up, and pre-plan and get things organised. Don't wait for something to happen and then be reactive to it. And that's a good plan anyway, not just in property development, in life. Otherwise, you let things happen to you, as opposed to controlling what happens to you.
You're reacting instead of you can either act or react. That's a good.
We proact.
Yeah, that's the word I was after. Be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah, exactly. Because as I said, it costs you money every day.
Yeah. Okay, Bob. I think we've probably.
A lot of controllables.
I think we've summarised quite a few controllables, and I think it's always good for people to know that someone who is a very successful property developer, what you do, and you've alluded to a lot more of the personal stuff that you don't, so thank you for sharing your world.
Sneaking off to Bunnings.
I'm sure he runs up and down the aisles.
No.
Uses it as a gym. Somebody else told me they did that recently. They ran up and down the aisles at Bunnings as their exercise. My God, how much time do you spend at Bunnings?
I can think of better places to run than Bunnings. E.g. the beach.
Okay,
so there's things you can't control, most you can.
Yes.
And that's what you need to do to be successful.
Thank you so much. Okay, there you go. That's episode 37, done and dusted, brought to you by Property Mastermind. Remember to like and share. If you think this episode would be useful to somebody else, you can actually share it and send us a comment or comment on the podcast. But apart from all that, I say that every week. I hope we do know some of you do. It'd be great if more of you did. We will catch you next week for episode 38 that we haven't decided what it's about yet.
Could be us, could be you.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Exciting. Stay tuned.
All right. See ya.
Bye.